I am paging Dr. Shanti.
I am the Dr. Shanti.
And I'm a licensed clinical psychologist.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Paging Dr. Chanda podcast, all things related to the Black culture.
Revolt. Put the doctor in front of your name.
What's up, family? It is Dr. Chanda. Tune in for another episode of Paging Dr. Chanda. All you have to do is keep watching. But listen, if you're just watching from the outside, just peeking through the window, I need you to commit. Come all the way in the house, and I need you to subscribe, like, and shoot me a comment in the comment section. I love responding to all of your comments. I love listening and reading how much you guys enjoy the topics that I'm talking about. So yeah, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, and join the tribe.
Stop scrolling for 1 second. This month, we are bringing back the psychology of Black women, the online class brought to you by yours truly, Dr. Chanda, licensed clinical psychologist. Y'all, I've been getting so many questions about why anxiety and depression presents differently in Black women. What do we do about it? How can we start to combat this? And what are some of the reasonings behind it? Listen, if you are a Black woman who has questions about anxiety and depression, it's something you experience or something your loved ones experience, or if you're a professional who works with Black women who experience anxiety and depression, I promise you this class is for you. Make sure that you sign up today.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You are now tuned in to the Paging Dr. Chanda show, where we encourage self-reflection through meaningful conversation. I have here none other than my auntie Shanti from the A. Yeah. I'm so excited. I'm loving your background with Silence the Shame behind you. I got to get one of those.
Thank you. Yes.
So it is Suicide Prevention Month. So I'm like, I cannot close out this month without having Auntie on. So Auntie Shanti, if you don't mind, could you introduce yourself to the people?
Absolutely. And you my bonus niece. I'm so proud of you, Dr. Chanda. I've watched you blossom in this space around mental health and wellness, and you're killing it. So thank you for leading the charge, especially for young African-American women and the men in our community. So I am Shanti Das, aka Shoestring, aka Auntie Shanti. I hail from ATL. I'm a former music industry executive, helping to launch careers of like Usher and Outkast and TLC and a few folks y'all might have heard of from the A. And I did that for a very long time. And then I pivoted and went over into the mental health space once I went through my own challenges. With it being our Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, Dr. Chanda, it's important for me to let people know that my father took his own life. And I prefer to say died by suicide instead of committed, because I feel like committed denotes a criminal act. And anyone that takes their own life are not criminals. They're not in their right frame of mind. And it, took me a long time to understand that. So both my sister and I, we say died by or completed. And so I was, again, I was a baby. And then fast forward, I went through a lot of my own stress and anxiety over the years and never dealt with it. But then my best friend took her own life in 2014, the exact same way that my father did. And then I had my own suicidal ideation in 2015. And that's how Silence the Shame was born.
Wow. So many different accomplishments that you were going through. And I'd love for you to tell the story, because I just love hearing your story, Auntie, for names that y'all may have heard of, like, Usher, TLC, Goody Mob, possibly, if you're not living under a rock. But Auntie, can you tell us, like, okay, how you got into this industry, how you launched these careers, and also, like, at the height of your career, also experiencing suicidal ideation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to Syracuse University, and I majored in television, radio, and film. And so I knew I wanted to do something either in radio industry, within the music industry was starting to pop in Atlanta and really gain a lot of traction. So I would intern at Capitol Records during the summers of my college years. And so once I graduated, the gentleman that had hired me for my internship started consulting for LaFace Records, which was Babyface and L.A. Reid's record company. And he was like, LaFace is looking for a promotions director. And I thought, especially back then, most people's entry level or entry points into the music industry was an administrative position. So I was like, I'll whatever, volunteer or be somebody's assistant. But he was like, they're looking for a promotions director. I was like, I don't really know what that is, but I'm definitely going to take the interview. Because you always got to take the interview, right? Because you just never know. And so I got hired as promotions director 1993, straight out of college, making like $30,000 a year. You couldn't tell me nothing. I got my first car. And my very first record I ever worked was Players Ball from Outkast.
That was your first record?
It was like so iconic. And I also had to hit the road with Toni Braxton. She was on tour with Frankie Beverly and Maze. And rest in peace to Mr. Frankie Beverly, who recently passed away. And I literally met Frankie Beverly and I watched the tour every night. That's how good it was. So not bad for a first tour. And what I was doing was either before or after the show, I was getting all the contest winners and music people from the radio stations, music directors, program directors, to meet and greet Toni and take pictures with her. So that's kind of how I got my start. Ended up, doing promotions with TLC, went on a Crazy Sexy Cool tour, was on the bottom bunk in the back of the bus. And people used to call me the fourth member sometimes because, we were all short and everything, and learned a lot and helped the girls, while they were on the road. And that just like really opened up my life from a pop music perspective because I was used to dealing with a lot of hip hop and R&B. And then fast forward, after LaFace and I worked with Goody Mob, shout out to Goody Mob. And after LaFace was closed, I moved to New York City and started doing some work with Jermaine Dupri. And then I got to do some marketing with Prince. I marketed the Musicology album. I don't know if you knew that, but I did it for Prince, and I toured with Prince on the Musicology tour. Just surreal. And then I ended up as executive vice president in 2005 for Universal Motown Records, head of marketing on the urban side. And it was great, but I wasn't really taking care of me. I mean, it's so funny, like, when you get higher up in the music industry like that, you get used to like certain amenities. So I had a driver, not on call 24/7, but you went to the airport or go to events, you could call a driver. And so I would use the same guy to come to my townhouse to pick me up. Well, I was in New York last year, and I was like, I wonder, is this gentleman still driving? And he was. And so he up, and we're talking, it's been like 14, 15 years now. And he said, he says, really good to see you. He said, and I kind of told him what I had gone through and how I left. He said, I don't know how you did it. He said, I would drop you off at your house from an event at 1 a.m, and one of my other drivers was set to be at your house at 4 a.m. He's like, wow. I don't know how you, like, when did you eat? When did you sleep? And Dr. Chanda, I was going like an Energizer bunny, but it wasn't healthy for me. And so then you add in the stressors of being, a Black female. And at that level, you're dealing with more the corporate side of the music. It's not as creative. It's all about budgets and meetings and line items. And I felt like, I had lost just a little bit of the creativity that I loved about it. And then I had to deal with some of the microaggressions from some of my white male counterparts. So it was really layered. And then also my uncle was really sick and had passed away, who helped to raise me after my father died. So that kind of sent me into a depression. And then my mother started developing dementia. And I was like, I'm all the way up here in New York. Mom's got dementia. And so my whole world kind of came crashing down. And I was riding in a taxi going uptown to Harlem one day, and my whole right side went numb. Like, I couldn't feel any side of my body. So I had all these tests run, and they diagnosed me with something called cervical spinal stenosis. So I had issues going on with my spine, and I thought I had to have surgery. And so I ended up just quitting and walking away from it all because I had the physical stress that manifested into emotional stress as well, or even vice versa. And so it was just time to go. I mean, I was making a ton of money, almost $500,000 a year. Wow. Sometimes I have to pay myself to even, was I really making that? And I looked at an old tax return one time. I was like, wow, I was really making that kind of money. But I left it all on the table. Yeah. I was like, you know what? I'm done. And I went back home, and, for like 4 years, I started a live music event here in Atlanta. I was still doing some music consulting, and I started doing a lot of community service work. And I was like, through my depression, I guess God was just leading me into more of a life of service, and I couldn't understand it. But then fast forward to 2014, when I talked to my best friend the day I was leaving for a vacation to go overseas. And I knew she had been experiencing some physical and mental health issues as well. But she called me and she was like, have you left for the trip yet? I said, I'm actually at the airport about to board. She's like, it's the worst day of my life. I said, well, hold on. I'll be the last person to board. Like, let's talk this out. And I thought we had gotten to a point where like I was going to get her a new therapist. I was going to help her find more doctors on the physical side, a neurologist, and got to where I was in Europe and literally went to the apartment of my family friends, my bonus sister, went to a restaurant, and 3 hours later got a call that she had shot herself. Wow. It was one of the worst days of my life. I know I cried that whole night. And I jumped back on the plane the very next morning coming back home. And I got here and she was already brain dead. It was awful. Oh my goodness.
So dealing with that, your best friend who took her life and also your father, I wonder like how did that impact you, just witnessing so much?
It was terrible. And see, even though I was 7 years old when my dad died, some people say, oh, well, it shouldn't have been that bad because you were young. But it had all these I had all these scenarios going on in my head. Like, did he do it because of me, or was he not happy with us anymore? Like, I have all these unanswered questions. And so I had buried that trauma for so long. So when my best friend did it the exact same way, it just started bringing all of those thoughts back up about my father. I hadn't really resolved it. I only went to counseling like in New York one time to finally deal with that. Because I forgot to mention that one time while I was in New York, like 2002 or something like that, I had uttered the words, maybe I should just kill myself. And my sister was like, you gotta go deal with your issues, and dad and whatever it is. But I only went for like 3 months. So now we're talking years later. You can't just go to therapy for 3 months and think you're okay. If you got all of that unresolved trauma and things that have happened in your family that was really difficult to process through, you got to do the work. But I just didn't understand it. And my sister was trying to tell me and support me. And I guess I just didn't hear it. So when my best friend did that, it kind of sent me into like a really dark depression. But I was still functioning, but I didn't let nobody know what was going on. Like I was hurt inside, not wanting to get out of bed. That was a really tough year.
I feel like, a lot of Black women do that. When we're suffering, we just want to push through it. We're going to still work.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And I remember like the night that I was going through my ideation, I tell people all the time, it wasn't that I wanted to die. I just wanted the pain to go away. And I literally like, it was like I heard something inside of me saying, just kill yourself. And that scared me. And so I had counted up all these pills and I was like, if I stay in this house, I don't trust myself. So I got out of the house and my sister convinced me to call the Suicide Lifeline, which now you can dial 988, thank goodness, if you're in a crisis. And I called that Lifeline number and they helped to kind of de-escalate the crisis. And then I also texted my pastor and he was like, you got to get help. And so I called my primary healthcare physician, like this was a Saturday. So I called my doctor Monday morning and they put me in touch with a Black female psychiatrist. And that's when I got on antidepressants to try to get myself back straight. And I didn't couple therapy. I just started with a psychiatrist at first and let the antidepressants kind of do the work. And then I really started, I immediately turned into an advocate. I was like, because that's just my type A personality. I was trying to turn my pain into something positive or something purposeful. And so I just started opening up and sharing with people. And it's interesting, like I'm a member of Ebenezer Baptist Church here in Atlanta, Dr. King's former church. And they let me share my testimony in the pulpit that next year for May. So that was September. So fast forward to May, Mental Health Awareness Month. They had never talked about mental health in the church before.
That's so good that they allowed you to do that.
Mental health, division and, a group and everything. And I'm not just saying I did that, but I was, I don't think they ever really talked about it or dealt with it. And I was grateful to that. So when I saw that like me opening up and sharing my story was helping open doors and helping people in the Black community, I had to do more. My sister was like, you really want to be sharing all of this? And I said, I can't explain why I'm telling all my business about my mental health, but it's like God was just using me as a vessel. And I just let him. And then Dr. Chanda, like all of these artists were hitting me like, yo, because you got to remember, this was pandemic. So we're talking 2016. They weren't talking about mental health at all. And so people were like hitting me on DM. And then, we formed a movement and I got like I made up May 5th being National Silence to Shame Day, and it just kind of snowballed. And so it was still, I know it was God using me as a vessel, because suicide is still really difficult to talk about. I know a lot of families who have had children to die by suicide, and they still won't talk about the cause of death.
Because of that stigma.
It still persists. And suicide especially, it is, people think it's embarrassing for the family. It is. And I'm not taking that. It can be very embarrassing. But I'm here to say, as embarrassing as you may think it is, it's nothing to be ashamed about, because your loved one was sick. You can still celebrate their memory, as painful as it is, and you can get past all of that. And that's why the work that you do, the work that we do at Silence to Shame, and all these other NAMI and all these other great organizations, like, it's support groups out there. It's so many resources that are available now. And I just don't want people to feel like suicide is an option.
And you do a great job destigmatizing that, because as you stated, pre-pandemic, there weren't a lot of people talking in our community. There was not a lot of people talking about suicide.
Yeah, mental health, and especially not suicide.
It was seen as a white person's thing.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean? And I would have people that would come up to me, and of course, they were kind and empathetic, but they were like, why would you want to kill yourself? You had this, you had the money, the job, the career, and everybody, like, all these opportunities. And I was like, it doesn't matter when your mind is not healthy. Like, it's not something tangible, right? That you can just touch, or, take a blood test and say that, I got suicidal ideation because of this blood test. Like, it is something that's unknown. And so that makes it scary for a lot of people, myself included. At first, I was like, I didn't know what was going on with myself. But when I couldn't control my own thoughts, I was like, okay, I got to get some help. This ain't no normal, just me stressed out.
And to your point, though, like, what people were saying, like, you have this, you have a great career, you have money, like, and you're still experiencing suicidal ideation. What was that like for you, working with these amazing artists in this industry and having to walk away from that? How did you do that?
So I often get asked, if I knew what I know now back then, what would I say in the business? And I don't know. I do wish that I had have learned more about self-care back then, because I did love the music industry. But, when I walked away and went through my ideation and to come in contact with colleagues and artists, I was embarrassed. So I was embarrassed and ashamed at first. And then I just, again, I think it was just God working inside of me and just freed me from it. And just allowed me to be vulnerable and to be transparent. And, that's why back in, like, I want to say it was 2017, R&B singer and songwriter Carrie Hilson opened up for the very first time on a Silence to Shame panel talking about her depression. And so I was like, okay, like, this is bigger than me. It's bigger than me. That's when I knew it was from up here, as an assignment over my life. And, to be looking at, Jeezy, shout out to my boy Jeezy, the rapper, and activist Jeezy. He put out a book earlier this year talking about, dealing with anxiety and different things, or depression, I think. And he was doing a video interview with Essence Magazine, and they were asking him, like, who did he look up to or influence in this space? And he shouted me out, with Silence to Shame. And Kim Mike is always shouting out me in Silence to Shame. So it's a little surreal, because I work with both of them on the music side, but for them to shout me out as a mental health advocate and that work, not even talking about me doing the marketing, I was like, okay, God, because I thought that when I walked away from music, my legacy was over in music. And it took my mentee to tell me, no, this work, it's all a part of your legacy. You couldn't do this the way you're doing it had you not done that before. And so at first I was separating the two, and I felt a little weird at times. I would go, first couple of times after my ideation that I got invited to go, like, BET Awards or Grammy weekend, I felt a little weird in the room. Just this last weekend, now we're talking, it's been 9 years since I had my suicidal ideation. Next year will be the 10-year anniversary of it. And so my alma mater, Syracuse, I've been back on campus talking to students about it, but not my peers. So every 3 years at Syracuse, they do what's called CBT, coming back together. So all the Latino students are invited back every 3 years. It's not like we come every year for homecoming or just the year that you graduated. It's like this cool reunion they do every 3 years. I was on a panel just this, a couple weeks ago. And I said, this is the first time I have spoken openly about what I've gone through in front of my peers. And it's so freeing at Syracuse. I got more hugs and comments and people just thanking me. And it just was such a relief for me to even say it in front of them. And they followed it on social media, but I hadn't been face to face with them. So I can talk about it now openly. And I will say, do I ever think I will have those thoughts again? I don't think at that level, no. Do I have dark thoughts? Absolutely. I lost my sister unexpectedly in 2019, and it damn near shattered my whole world. And it almost did set me back. And then I had to become my mother's caregiver. And then mom passed 2 years ago. I mean, I've been through a lot. So has a lot of other people. But, by the grace of God, I'm here. And I feel like I am 8 years in. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to continue to be this mental health advocate to try to save as many lives. I have a staff of 6 now. I have an incredible team. Jewel, Megan, Tamir, Nia, Nick. We are a mighty team, all Black mental health organization. And we are out here. They are really killing it and doing the work. I look at myself as like the coach, trying to do a lot of the high level stuff and bring partnerships to the table. We are, for the second year, not consecutive, because the first year I think was in the pandemic, but this year we got named one of the mental health partners for the NFL Players Association again.
Congrats.
So they're powering our podcast. So that's why you'll see former NFL players on our podcast now. We'll be doing more with them, working with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Still doing more with Jack and Jill of America in the Atlanta chapter, and just really focusing on youth and young adults. And because suicide rates for our Black youth have increased,
they're going up.
I want to between 2018 and 2021, there was a 30% increase of suicide rates. That's not cool. We got to do better. So I'm excited to announce that we just found out that we are getting a grant from the city of Atlanta, and we're putting together a communications plan rolling out 988 in the city of Atlanta. So we'll be doing a lot with the city and making sure everybody knows how to access 988. And hopefully that maybe we can do it in other states,
You are doing the work. Like, you literally are silencing the shame by your lifestyle and overcoming what you felt was a stigma, the embarrassment.
Like getting stuff printed. I be remixing, this is a regular sweatshirt I bought with nothing on it. I had this put on it, and then I took some fabric and had this put on it. So I remixed a lot of my gear. And so to your point, it really is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. And that's how I like branding myself. When I go and speak, you're going to see me wearing Silence the Shame gear that I remix. And sometimes we'll sell my sweatshirts, and give the proceeds to the organization. So I try to have a lot of fun with it. It's a heavy topic. And I'm trying to let people know that, just like you talk about anything else, any other ailment that might be physical, let's talk about the mind. Let's talk about the brain. Let's talk about why do we have this suicidal ideation? What's going on in the community? That's why we try to do so much around youth and young adults. And I'm proud of my team. We launched this program. We have STSU now, which is Silence the Shame University. So we had our first college cohort. It's a 6-month leadership training program. So we take them through all these different events and different things, building their skills in leadership, but all with a special emphasis on well-being. And we graduated 25 students in August.
That is amazing.
Ready to have them apply, and they each got $2,000. So this was funded by the state.
Wow.
So part of it. So we're launching our second cohort of STSU in the fall, and so we're hoping that we will, just get so much money that we can take this in every state. Because right now it's only for college students in the state of Georgia, but we want to take STSU national.
That is amazing. So if y'all are listening and y'all watching and you live in Atlanta, y'all need to stay connected with Silence the Shame.
college, you want to apply for the second cohort, like it's really good. And we have different events. Like I did a fireside chat with the actor Trevor Jackson, and then they had all these other cool events and trainings, and we're putting them with people like yourself, because the other thing that we think is important in this training program is that they get to interact with other African American clinicians so that they can look at psychology and psychiatry as a viable career option. We want to create this pipeline to build more clinicians of color, right? So that there's always a void or a waiting list for good clinicians, and we want students to like consider being a clinician. And we're gonna keep on doing what we're gonna do on the advocate side, but we need more clinicians like Dr. Chanda.
Yes. And listen, like I said, you are doing the work. I think people just watching you do what you do and living this lifestyle of silencing the shame, that motivates people to just want to live a better life, a life that prioritizes wellness.
And me coming from a promotions and marketing background in music, I initially marketed like I was working a record, essentially. All the promo, the gear, it's like stuff I learned in hip hop. That's why I rock, I'm still a big girl at heart, just out here doing God's work, trying to save lives, but it's all the same.
No, you fly too. Like you put it on. Like that's
Thank you. Yeah, you come for 53. She still got a little something going on.
Period. I'm here for it. And this weekend, y'all have like you're going to Morehouse for the university. Okay.
Yeah. We have our first STSU Fest at Morehouse College, and it's open to all AUCs. We also have free shuttles going from Georgia State University, another college, Kennesaw State. So we're trying to get all the students to come. I know it's a lot going on, Revolt World and all of that, but y'all can come through to STSU first on your way to Revolt World, because the resources are there, and we're just trying to bring, more importantly, we're just trying to get the young students in this generation, they're open, they're talking about it. We want to make sure they're taking it a step further and getting the help. So we're just trying to reinforce, something that they might already be thinking, and letting them understand, that their mental health, should be just as important as their physical health, and to get the help, utilize the counseling center or what have you, or all the resources, because, the resources are there. You can't just talk about it. You got to go get the help and actually do the work.
Exactly. And the fact that you're having it on a college campus, which is making it so accessible to so many students, like I'm here for it.
If you can't stay the whole time, just come through and, go to 1 or 2 events, but it's going to be good. I'm proud of my staff. Great job.
Y'all are doing it. I'm definitely going to try and slide through on Saturday. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll definitely stay connected with you on that.
Please
for sure. Auntie, can you tell the people where they can find you, and final remarks, like what advice you would give to someone who might be struggling with these thoughts?
Absolutely. So final remarks, I would say, first of all, you have to be open to, I tell people, you got to wrap through your problems, right? What does that mean? The R is recognizing that you're having some thoughts that are just different, and, recognizing that something might not be right? And the A in wrap is acknowledging it, because you'll recognize it, but then you might act like ain't nothing happened. You know how things happen? You'll be like, oh, I'm just going to compartmentalize that and put that over there. That was a moment in time. No, you better acknowledge and accept that that's happening. And if you start seeing a pattern, then you got to acknowledge that something's not right. And then the P in wrap is processing through it with a professional counselor like yourself. Don't try to fix yourself and do it on your own. You can talk to a friend or your parents or somebody first, or trusted, colleague. But ultimately, you need to process through it with a professional. So RAP, recognize, acknowledge, and process with a professional. So that's one piece of advice. The second, if you are a parent and you have a child or you have someone you're caring for, LAL, listen, ask, learn. You need to listen to your kids. If they talking to you, don't try to answer every time they say something. Just stop. Put your phone away. Don't try to have an answer or rebuttal for everything. Just stop and take the time to listen to them. Because a lot of times what I find that I've been told, and I have nieces and nephews, that sometimes parents hear what they want to hear.
That part.
And that happens in families too. We hear what we want to hear. So listen. And then sit down and ask them, right? So if you got questions, don't just shout and yell. Sit down and talk and have a conversation. So listen, ask, and learn. Figure out what they're going through and figure out the best way that you can help them. So you've heard 2 acronyms, RAP and LAL. And the last thing I'll say, don't be afraid to get help if you need to. That's the one cool thing about therapy. And I already know that I'm sure you're a great therapist to so many people. You got to find somebody that you're comfortable with. It's kind of like dating. And so if that person didn't do it for you, don't give up on therapy. I've heard so many people say, yeah, I tried it once or twice, but it didn't do nothing for me. That means you ain't found the right person. That's just like, you got to do that with any kind of doctor, your primary health physician, or you go buy a car, or you looking for a real estate agent and you ain't really feeling them. That doesn't mean you're not going to buy the house. You're going to go figure out and find the best agent to get you the best deal on your house. Same thing applies with mental health. Keep trying it until you find the right person that gets you and that can really work with you. And it's not their job to fix you. People have it twisted. Therapy.
Say that again.
Stop putting
Say that again.
It ain't no 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna sprinkle some fairy dust on you and you're gonna be fine. No, you gotta work. You gotta put just as much into therapy as they're giving out to you. It is a relationship. And if you're not committed to doing the work, then unfortunately you will find yourself going back through this over and over again. And the last thing I'll say is don't be afraid of medication if you need it. I'm not a pill pusher. I don't push medication on people, but I also don't want it to be a stigma around taking medication. I had to take my antidepressants. I probably took them for about 4 months, and then I weaned myself off of them. Some people never go off. Some people take them for years. That helped me, and then I was able to replace my pain, through the purpose work. Excuse me. But for some people, it just depends. So, work with your doctor, work with your psychiatrist, and figure out if that's what works for you. Again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying don't be afraid of it if that's what's needed and if that's what you and your doctor decide is best for you. And you can find me on social media, Auntie Shanti. It's just, and I do respond to a lot of my DMs, but my handle is at Shantidas 404, SHANTIDAS 404. Please follow Silence the Shame at Silence the Shame, or check out our website, silencetheshame.com. We have a ton of resources. We also have an app. We partner with Microsoft. The app is still, we need some work though. So we're trying to get more funding, but we got the first iteration of the app out there, and we're going to be doing more with the app in 2025. Hopefully we'll get additional funding to make that bigger and better. And then I also have my own podcast called The Mebo Show, MI for mind, BO for body. And season 2 is out there. I have interviewed Tisha Campbell. I have interviewed Kenan Thompson from Saturday Night Live, R&B crooner Johnny Gill. Just so many great people. I just interviewed Yvette Nicole Brown, who's an actress. We talked a lot about Alzheimer's and caregiving. So for the Mebo Show, I advocate for mental and physical health. But it's been wonderful. I did D-Nice. I mean, just all kind of people. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to now go back into sports and music. I did Chris Webber, and former NBA All-Star. I mean, it's just been great. So again, it goes back to that one legacy, right? It's not being two. So I feel like Auntie Shanti's place is right at the intersection of health and culture. And so that's what I want people to think about me.
And that intersection is so beautiful.
I can be the new generation of like an Iyanla, but I'm not there to fix them. I'm just there to, hold space, right? Create these safe spaces for people to be able to open up and share. So,
and you do it so beautifully.
So that's thank you. So can you indulge me?
Yeah.
All right. So repeat after me. I am peace.
I am peace.
I am love.
I am love.
I am joy.
I am joy.
I am everything I need to be.
I am everything I need to be.
I
am enough. And on that note,
use that mantra, put it on your refrigerator, on your bathroom mirror, and when you're feeling down and you feel like you can't go on anymore, know that you are enough and that you deserve love and care, and you deserve to get the treatment that you need if you need it, because we need you here with us.
That is a message that I'm sure resonates with so many viewers right now. I appreciate you, Auntie Shanti, for stopping through. I know your schedule is so busy, but thanks for coming by.
All good. And I'm sorry it took me a minute. I was traveling, had a lot going on, but
Okay.
I'm never gonna tell you no. We just gotta work the date out.
Same, Auntie. You can ask me for anything and I'm there. You know that.
Yes, I know. I hope to see you this weekend, and if not, I'll see you on Zoom next week.
Yes, I can't wait. Thanks for your time.
Can't wait till this comes out so I can promote it.
Okay, for sure. Awesome. And make sure that y'all tune in next week for another episode. And don't forget, you have the power to create the emotions that you want to experience. God bless.